Good morning, I'm Erica Hill. In today for Carol Costello. Thanks for being with us. Donald Trump sending mixed messages as Hillary Clinton sends an appeal to Republicans. This is a new national poll from Quinnipiac University. Shows Clinton leading Trump by 7 points. Now, when it comes to a head-to-head matchup, Clinton tops Trump by 10 points. Even though Trump is trailing in most polls, his campaign manager shaking it off, telling the UK's Channel 4 News this week, Donald Trump consistently better in online polling, where a human being is not talking to another human being about what he or she may do in the elections. It's become socially desirable, especially if you're a college-educated person in the U.S., to say that you're against Donald Trump. The hidden Trump vote in this country is a very significant proposition. So could the so-called undercover Trump supporter significantly impact the election? With me now, Trump supporter and former lieutenant governor of New York, Betsy McCaughey, and CNN political commentator and Hillary Clinton supporter Hillary Rosen. Good to have both of you with us. So, Betsy, first to you. We hear from Kellyanne Conway about these so-called undercover voters. Give us a sense. How many people are we talking about here? What's the real potential impact?
Well, I'm predicting that among those undercover voters is a sizable part of the African-American community, because Donald Trump is offering them a lifeline. Economic growth, school choice, safer neighborhoods. These are things that are very important to the African-American people as well as to everyone else in this country. And that's one reason why what happened this week with Hillary Clinton's speech is nothing new, because all during the campaign she has been stoking the fires of racial resentment, telling African-American audiences that they are the victims of systemic racism, making bogus claims such as that cops are more likely to shoot a black perpetrator than a white perpetrator, or that black convicted felons serve longer prison terms than white convicted felons. These have all been debunked. These are false claims, but she keeps making them all across the country, whereas Donald Trump is saying, take a chance on me. I'm not going to stoke the flames of racial resentment. I want to be the president for all Americans.
Betsy, though, back to the question, there are these people who we're seeing, and look, this happens all the time when we talk about online polling. It's not just potential Donald Trump supporters. We do hear that people tend to be more honest talking to an actual person. That said, do you have a firm number, though? Does the campaign have a firm number, a sense of really how many people are out there who fall into this category that Kellyanne was talking about?
Well, that's impossible to say, but I will say this. With 70-some days of the campaign left and 3 presidential debates, this election season is just beginning. 70-something days, it's an eternity in politics.
I think we could all agree with that this year, especially in 2016, it might feel that way. Hillary, when you look at this, when you hear comments like Kellyanne's talking about these undercover voters, how much of a concern is this for the Clinton campaign, and how, if they're not, or if they are, how is the preparation going behind the scenes to deal with that?
Erica, can we just stop for a moment and note how embarrassing it is that the campaign manager of a presidential candidate has to say, well, we know that people are too ashamed to say up front that they're going to vote for our guy, so we think they're going to secretly vote for our guy. I mean, that's horrifying, that the fact that they don't have a candidate that people are proud enough of to vote for and say so publicly. So
I think that the real issue here is that they've been browbeaten by political correctness.
I let you talk. So let's start there and then go to where Donald Trump is seeking additional votes. He is pursuing votes in places he hasn't been before, but he is going to white audiences and making the plea for votes from people of color. He's not going into communities of color. He's consistently declined invitations from places like the NAACP or the Urban Institute or mayors of big cities with significant people of color populations. Those leaders themselves are talking about what they need from a presidential candidate. And Hillary Clinton will call Donald Trump out on this. She has spent a lifetime working with communities of color on issues that matter. And so people will judge a record more than they're going to judge campaign rhetoric.
So, Hillary, do you not believe that there are those undercover voters? Do you believe they exist, or are they not really there?
Look, I think that there are undercover voters who just don't like to respond to political polls. But I don't think there's this secret trove of Trump voters that pollsters have not discovered. Having said that, polls today aren't meaning that much. I think that the Clinton campaign and the Trump campaign have to campaign as though this race is a 50-50 race. It is going to be close up to the last minute. I have said so consistently all year.
I do want to get to this one part, though. There is something really interesting in this Quinnipiac poll, and that's when we look at the negatives. So 64% of likely Trump voters say they are backing Donald Trump mainly because they're anti-Clinton. Only 25% of them say they're voting for him because they like Trump. And the news is not much better for Hillary Clinton. When we put up those numbers, only 32%, not even a third, say that they're voting for her because they are pro-Hillary Clinton. So both of your candidates have some work to do in terms of winning over voters because they actually like the person that they're voting for. How damaging is this negative rhetoric on both sides? Betsy, I'll start with you, and then Hillary's going to finish.
Let me point out that the biggest part of the unlikability problem with Hillary Clinton, and I'll point to the recent NBC poll, August 16th, is that only 16% of likely voters believe that she's trustworthy and honest. And that number is probably even smaller now with the latest news that she used the State Department as a cash machine to enrich the Clinton Foundation. That report from the Associated Press, hardly a biased organization.
They both have unfavorables, but we're tight on time. So what I'd really like to know from both of you, and Betsy, if you could finish this and then Hillary will wrap it up, is how do you deal with the fact that the majority, we're looking at these numbers, and only a quarter, in your case, Betsy, of people who say they're likely voting for Trump are doing it because they're actually voting for Trump, the candidate, as opposed to voting against Hillary Clinton?
Well, I'm sure he'll take their vote for whatever reason they have. A vote is a vote. But the fact is that Americans are going to realize they would much prefer 4% economic growth to the current 1.2% economic growth. They want more take-home pay.
Hillary, you get a really quick last word.
Look, I think that this has been an ugly political season. I think that Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton had a primary based on the issues. Donald Trump had a primary based on insults. I think we'd much rather a campaign about conversations about issues, and hopefully we're going to get to that at some point. Hopefully the debates will bring more of that to voters who are rightly disgusted by the entire process.
Hillary Rose and Betsy McCaughey, I appreciate you both being with us this morning.
Thank you.